I'm turning 60 this year. With this milestone birthday approaching, I thought I'd start a new series on some important life lessons that I've learned. Some of them the hard way. As I grow closer to retirement, I want those years to be my best chapter, not ones of regret or insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Hi, I'm Kimberly, and this is Faith and Feathers. So here's the first lesson I want to talk about. It is about how I learned to stop being a people pleaser. Most people pleasers know who they are. And if you are one or were one, you're probably nodding your head. But let's define what a people pleaser is. It's a pattern of behavior whereby we prioritize others' needs, desires, and expectations over our own. Well, what's wrong with that, you might ask? Isn't it admirable to think of and serve others before meeting our own needs? Within reason. People pleasers take service to the extreme. They please at the expense of their own well-being. They prioritize others' needs due to an unhealthy need for approval, validation, and self-worth, not from a healthy place of proper boundaries and genuine giving. People pleasers have trouble setting boundaries, if they set them at all, and they fear and avoid conflict at all costs. They see their self-worth only through the accepting eyes of others. They apologize for things that are not their fault, and they tend to be perfectionists. They regularly beat themselves up for not being good enough. People pleasers are insecure because they lack true personhood. If they have been pleasing for a very long time, they often don't even know what their own needs and desires are. I didn't. They overcommit their time and talents, even when exhausted. They feel responsible for other people's feelings, and they have this incredible ability for reading the emotions of others. It's kind of like their superpower. And because they can do this, they often preemptively meet the needs they perceive are there in order to keep or make peace. So how does all this sound? I know I'm exhausted just saying it. Who wants to live this way, right? I did for the majority of my life. So we know how people pleasers behave, but how does this behavior affect us? Well, it's not good. You see, all those behaviors cause the people pleaser extreme anxiety, burnout, excessive rumination, a state of hypervigilance about others around them, and ultimately a loss of identity. They may look sweet-natured and accommodating on the outside, but be angry, hurt, and resentful on the inside. The well of their self-worth is always running dry. They only feel temporarily good when they've made someone else happy, and then in return, received the reassurance that they so desperately need. But it doesn't last. It's an endless cycle of needing validation from others because in reality, they lack their own self-worth. And also, people pleasers are hard to get to know They hold back their own inner thoughts and feelings for a number of reasons. One, they're afraid if they share themselves with others, they will be rejected. The old, if they knew the real me, they wouldn't love me. Or they hold back because, as I mentioned before, they don't have much of an identity sometimes and they're not even sure who they are. So their relationships remain shallow. Well, not only is this an empty, self-defeating loop for the people pleaser, but it's no fun for those closest to them either. If they are in relationships with good, decent people, the other person feels it. They may long to get close to their partner, the pleaser, and desire to have a healthy give and take relationship, but they can't. They feel the depth isn't there, or authenticity. The relationship is never truly intimate because the pleaser is never truly known. And the burden of constantly reassuring the people pleaser is draining as well. But it gets worse. I've never known a people pleaser, a giver, who hasn't found themselves in relationships with takers. These two styles always find each other. People pleasers often find themselves in toxic relationships with those ready and willing to take advantage of them. Those people are the ones that have opposite unhealthy behavior patterns, like being overbearing, controlling, and even abusive. So how do we stop this pattern? Well, first, we have to realize some important truths. People-pleasing may have developed due to many things: a chaotic childhood, a first broken heart in young adult life, being born with a more soft temperament. But what remains the same is we began people-pleasing because we felt we didn't measure up, and we used this technique to try to gain love and acceptance while avoiding hurt. But while we may have been victims of certain events in our past, we're not victims anymore. We're not victims now. When we continue this pattern of over-pleasing, we're actually victimizing ourselves. We open ourselves up to those willing to take advantage of us. I mean, other people couldn't do that to us if we didn't let them. And what if I told you that being a people pleaser is our way of being controlling? We use these over-agreeable behaviors as currency in exchange for love, approval, and our self-worth from others. It's a silent if-then negotiation. If I give this, I'll get that. And essentially, it's a manipulation of others. I know that sounds harsh, and I may get some backlash for saying that. But hear me out. I understand what you might be feeling. Before I realized these hard truths, if someone had told me that in my people-pleasing, I was controlling and manipulative, I would have been very angry and hurt. I would have rejected this idea and thought, once again, I'm misunderstood. I would have said, no way, no way. I'm the one who feels controlled all the time. I'm the one who tries so hard to be giving and selfless. How can I be the controlling one? But again, we have to remember the why. Why did we become chronic pleasers? We developed the self-protective mechanism of the if-then exchange. If I behave this way, then I'll get the love and approval I need. We are trying to control the environment, ourselves, and others as a way to avoid hurt and get validation. That's control, my friends. And it's exhausting. And once more, it doesn't work. No amount of people-pleasing will guarantee that we'll never be hurt or let down. And no amount of self-deprivation for others will make us feel valuable, worthy, and whole. Other people in our silent if-then negotiation don't necessarily even know what we're doing or why. So oftentimes we don't get the approval and validation that we need back from them or in the way we need. It's like we're a bucket with a hole in it, in constant need of filling. And when our control of the situation fails to fill that bucket because maybe that person didn't respond to us just so, or say the right things, or make us feel what we needed to feel in the moment, we wind up feeling hurt, rejected, and unloved. The exact thing we're trying to avoid. So how do we get off this hamster wheel and stop being people pleasers? First, if you want to be truly known and loved by others for who you are, you must accept responsibility for what you're doing and why. You must. I finally did. Although I like to call myself a recovered people pleaser because I liken it to an addiction, meaning without persistent attention to it, it's easy to slide back into old habits, and sometimes I do. But once you are willing to take responsibility, then you have to take action. You have to begin somewhere, even if it's baby steps. Take action. Don't think that you can wait until you feel strong enough to start or feel ready, because you won't. You have to be brave. And bravery doesn't mean you aren't afraid. Bravery means being afraid, but acting anyway. Just start doing what needs to be done. I promise you, the competence will eventually follow. Here are some ideas. Number 1, set reasonable boundaries. Say no to things that you truly don't want to do or are too tired or overextended to do. And number 2, don't apologize for things you didn't do wrong or are not your responsibility. Number 3, don't jump in and rescue someone from their problem or hurt feelings. Give them the opportunity to gain their own self-reliance. 4, don't fall all over yourself with lengthy explanations or apologies about why you are saying no to something. Just sit in your no. If you have to bite the inside of your cheek not to explain, then do it. Number 5, speak the truth in love. Let others know what you think and feel. No matter what comes from speaking the truth, know that it is always the exact right thing. Now, you might be thinking, yeah, but what if I speak up and it starts an argument or it makes somebody else unhappy? Maybe it will. In fact, I promise you, sometimes it will. But we are giving up trying to control everything, remember? And it's okay to have difficult conversations. They're an opportunity to grapple with things that probably need to be grappled with. And it's the only way to have intimate, real relationships. Sweeping things under the rug offers zero growth. Number 6, if your people-pleasing has left you kind of feeling like you lost your identity and you're really out of touch with your feelings and your desires, try journaling. Journaling is a great way to get back in touch with yourself. Just write about things that you're drawn to or that interest you, and write about why. From your favorite color to your hopes and dreams and everything in between. The more you write, the more you'll discover. This kind of reminds me of a scene from one of my favorite movies, The Breakfast Club. Let me know in the comments if you've ever seen this movie. So I'll set the scene. These kids were in high school detention, and the teacher comes in and he says, "We are going to write an essay of no less than 1,000 words describing to me who you think you are." And the burnout, smart aleck kid of the group claps back. "Is this a test?" Remember, when you're journaling, it's not a test. There is no right or wrong. It's you. So just write and discover who you are. Now, I want to share one more thing with you. As a person of faith, I want to leave you with a very powerful thought. And if you're not a person of faith, please stick with me. Hear me out, because what I'm going to say has wisdom for you too. You were fearfully and wonderfully made by your Creator. And what if I told you that when we are over-pleasing in an effort to gain acceptance and love, we are actually turning our backs on God and elevating mere man to be our God? Think about that. When we give other people the power over how we feel about ourselves, our very worthiness, that is making man into our false idol. Galatians 1:10 says, "Am I now trying to win the approval of man or of God? Am I trying to please men? If I were still trying to please men, I would not be a servant of God." This should make sense to my Christian friends, but there is great value in that message for everyone. Your value and self-worth should not be sought from other people who really are just as flawed as we are. Our worthiness is inherent and endowed by our Creator. Don't look for it in the wrong places. You know, I talk a lot about simple living on this channel, and I think it's important to not only declutter our surroundings, but also our hearts and minds. Get rid of the junk that weighs you down and stands in your way so you can experience true peace and joy. And remember, it's never too late. So let me know what you think. Are you a people pleaser? And if so, are you ready to change? Or are you a recovered people pleaser? If so, how did you overcome it? Let me know in the comments what you think. And thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you found something of value here today in this message. I will see you next time. This is Kimberly with Faith and Feathers. Bye.